Welcome into a special edition of Leading Edge. I'm your host, Jeff Smith. Arturo Polizzi just steered one of Northwest Ohio's largest employers out of a financial crisis. ProMedica was, as he puts it, hemorrhaging money. And today, he has the company on what he calls solid footing. WTOL 11 was the first Toledo TV station to sit down with the president CEO of ProMedica, 2 years now since he became its leader. Here's what I want to start with. Coming in 2 years ago, is CEO president of ProMedica the best, worst job in Northwest Ohio? Is that a fair question?
It's a fair question.
Thoughts?
Yes, it is.
Why do you say that?
I would say it's the best job. I like the way you started the question because ProMedica's, an anchor institution here in Northwest Ohio. We're incredibly important to the community. So with the CEO job comes a lot of responsibility. I'm looking for a lot of responsibility. That's been a career goal of mine, is to take charge of something that is going to be meaningful from a career perspective, and this certainly was. The worst of times, probably so in our history because of the financial situation we found ourselves in. We were bleeding a lot of cash at that point, and we needed a plan to get out of it. So it was very stressful. It was stressful on the leadership team here. It was stressful on the clinicians who take care of people. And it was our job to come up with a plan, work the plan, and make sure the plan was working, and at the same time communicate with all of our people about the realities of what we were going through. And that's tough. Delivering tough news can be difficult, but I found, and I continue to find, that if you're transparent with people, explain the problem, explain that you have a plan to address the problem, that people will line up behind you and work it. And we really worked that plan hard over the past couple of years, and I'm really proud to say it worked. But we can't do that without the team dynamic that we had here. So it is by far, especially now looking back, by far the best of times from a leadership perspective.
When you were at Toledo Hospital and Toledo Children's, and your 30,000-foot view of what was happening, was that your MO coming in? Was that you were going to be the person to come in and right the ship? What was it in your background that had you to have the wherewithal to do something like that?
I'm a lawyer by training, so I try to look at things pretty practically, and I think that training really helps me because what lawyers are trained to do is really get to the crux of the problems and address the crux of the problems and really try to avoid all the noise around it, because there's noise all the time, especially in these leadership roles. So to be able to really focus really helped me as we embarked on the journey that we were going under. So my time at Toledo Hospital absolutely prepared me for this job. And running Toledo Hospital, it's a small city over there. There's a lot of action. There's a fire every day. I used to tell people my job as the leader of Toledo Hospital back in the day was just to make sure the highs don't get too high and the lows don't get too low, and you just try to maintain some level of operational efficiency every day. And it's hard. The environment's really tough, especially in healthcare these days.
Do you think it was fair that the employees, that the community knew that you had to take on that, excuse me the term, the Grim Reaper role, to come in and cut, chop, chop, to make the company solvent again?
Yeah, fair or not fair is not for me to say. It is what it is. I think from my perspective, tried to be real practical about it. And like I said, I was very transparent at the beginning. We were going to have to do some tough things. And we did. And I think if you're honest with people, they'll accept it. They may not like it, but they'll accept it. And we have absolutely found that to be true, not only with our employees, but really with the community at large. Everyone's been very gracious with us. I think everyone has recognized how important ProMedica is to the community and how much good ProMedica has done for the community over the past couple of decades, really. And so they afforded us a little bit of grace as we headed into the last couple of years with the things that we had to do.
The board has gone through some transitions as far as knowing the direction. I don't mean as far as members, I mean as far as the direction of this company. When did it become apparent things needed to change?
Yeah, good question. From a strategic direction perspective, it became very apparent right when I started. Right before I started, I would say. When Randy was still here, he brought in a restructuring expert, and he was working with the board on that. So he recognized it, the board recognized it, and So I would say it would have been middle of 2022. So really coming right out of COVID. We had this COVID hangover, right? We had all the issues that came with COVID operationally and financially. And then the world economy kind of goes crazy and we get all this inflation. So it was a perfect storm and put us in a really tough spot right there in the middle of 2022. And that's really when we focused hard on, all right, what are we going to do? We really have to do some major restructuring in order to turn things around.
Talk to me about the world headquarters from a perspective of capacity. And when this building first opened, when this was part of the renaissance of downtown Toledo and Toledo proper, this was looked at as kind of that beacon moment where everything kind of rippled outside of here as far as the redevelopment of downtown Toledo, right?
Sure.
So when you look at the world headquarters today, if you can give people a perspective of how many employees are here in the building Monday through Friday, do you want full occupancy? Is full occupancy attainable going forward?
Do I want full occupancy? Yes, because I'm old school and I kind of like it that way. The reality of where we are though now, we have a hybrid environment. So, people in IT, people in revenue cycle who can do things from home are sometimes doing things from home, but it's hybrid. So they're here some of the time and they're working at home some of the time. Our leadership team is here full time. I'm here every day. Probably too much, to be quite honest.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Yeah. But some of our areas where they don't necessarily have to work in an office setting like IT are not here. We can accommodate in this building around 900 to 1,000 people. I would say at any given time we're at about 600-700 here, and it fluctuates given the day of the week.
And you're fine with that?
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think the reality has changed.
You're accepting of the hybrid model?
Yeah, I think reality has changed, and to just arbitrarily force people back into the office, we had bigger priorities, really. So long as the work's getting done, I don't get too worked up over it. I do think it helps having people in the office with culture. I think it helps with people's careers. If you're a young person and want to advance your career, you want to be around some of the leaders that you work for because that's how you learn. That's how I learned. And I do think some of that gets lost in this work from home environment, but I'm actually finding more and more people are starting to come back down to this building. We have a beautiful setting. We're really fortunate here to have this setting. So the environment's good, the culture is really strong, and I would like to see more, but I'm okay with where we are.
Welcome back. Great to have you with us. More of my conversation now with ProMedica's Arturo Polizzi. Your predecessor, we talked about Mr. Ostra. He was heavily invested in the political dynamic of what was Toledo and Lucas County. Quality of life of Northwest Ohio, and sitting down with interviews with Randy, he talked about that again and again. Beyond health care, right?
Yeah.
And that was important.
Yeah.
Where are you when it comes to your external responsibilities?
Yeah, and I have to, give Randy kudos because you're right. What he did for this community is unbelievable, and I learned a lot from him in that regard. The way I talk about it now is we're able to do what we can do commensurate with our resources. We don't have the resources we once had, so we're really scaled back.
Do you believe those resources were actually there at the time to do those things?
Yeah, I do. I think it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. I'm not going to do that. I don't think that's appropriate for me to do. Could you nitpick on some things here and there? Maybe. I don't think that's my place to do. I don't think anyone would have predicted COVID was coming. So in fairness, I don't know. That's an unprecedented type of event that no one really would have planned for. So that's a tough question to really answer directly that way, if that makes sense.
Understood.
Yeah. So.
But back to what your external responsibility is.
So for me, I'm really focused internally. I'm just now getting out there in the public. I'm just now talking to folks like you. I did that Blade article recently. This is me just getting out to say, hey, ProMedica's still around. We're going to be here for a long time. We've had a nice financial turnaround, so things are good, things are better, but measured. We still have some debt we have to manage, and so from a community perspective, I'm still really focused on ProMedica. But I think that's really important. We employ 20,000 people. We're really a critical employer here for Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. And we are the economic engine of the region, even outside of any community sponsorships or philanthropic donations we might make.
At its worst, can you say how many suitors lined up, interested parties that were looking to buy ProMedica?
We didn't really have a process like that. We considered looking for suitors, but we didn't. As we were developing the plans,
Going back to what
we had option A, B, C, D, and we were vetting all the plans with the board. That was a plan, but frankly, given the debt we had and the problems we had with the nursing homes, there weren't a lot of suitors. We had to really figure out our own situation, stopping the cash burn and then getting some cash back in on the balance sheet. So our plan was really just to restructure ourselves to get us financially healthy. So we didn't really meaningfully talk to any other parties about acquiring ProMedica.
What is ProMedica's vertical now?
Yeah, so we have 10 hospitals. We have a very large physician group. We have about 1,300 providers in that group between physicians and advanced practice providers. And we have an insurance company, dental insurance. So we divested the health insurance side in Paramount, but we still retain a dental insurance plan that covers about 300,000 members. And we have, on our senior care portfolio, we have 59 Arden courts, and those are assisted living, Alzheimer's, memory care facilities in 11 different states. So we're about $3 billion in revenue right now. So we went from 2 years ago, $7 billion in revenue, really unprofitable, to $3 billion in revenue and profitable. So that was the plan, was to really scale down and become profitable.
What do you say to all the people who kind of looked, me included, looked at this organization as the driving force? I mentioned the Renaissance before for downtown Toledo. ProMedica was behind this, that, and the other. Every time you heard of something good that was happening as far as redevelopment, as far as city projects, as far as entertainment value for the residents, ProMedica had some space in that news. What do you say to people as far as where that interest level is now going forward, and how important is it to the ProMedica board and to you that ProMedica gets back to that point?
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of scale. So we'll do what we can commensurate with our resources. So we'll still do some stuff, but it'll be on a smaller scale. We're still going to support some of the nonprofits in town, but just on a smaller scale. We're still going to support things that make sense to us clinically, like the American Heart Association. Functions like that, organizations like that, we'll still do. Will you see us making
things that make medical sense?
Correct. Yes, more tied to medical. So strategically,
healthcare, I should say.
Yeah, more tied to our business and our industry versus some of the community things for now. How important is it to get to things outside of that? It's important, but probably not for the next few years. I think as we continue to work our way out of our financial situation and continue to work the debt down on our balance sheet, we'll assess that every year, and we do that at our board, and we discuss all of the stuff at the board level on what we're going to do and when. But I think, from my perspective, it's going to be a couple of years before we get to be, any grand community things that are outside of the healthcare industry.
You strike me as a critical thinker. You're analytical in what you do day in and day out. You said you have the legal background. When you drive around Toledo, you see Glass City Center. You see the renovations that have happened at Ford Industry Square. You drive into work. Do you look upon that with pride as now back to being a Toledoan? Or from an analytical standpoint, do you scratch your head and think, darn it, I mean, that's another blip where we could have prevented a lot of this heartbreak.
Yeah.
And you understand what I'm saying?
I understand the question, yeah. And I look at it with pride. I think, I'm going to harken back to, we did what we thought were the right things to do at the time.
You truly believe that?
I absolutely believe that. And to go back and second guess those things now, we just don't do that. Our executive team and we're very focused on the future. The past is the past. And me personally, I am proud of that. I bleed green. I started at ProMedica in 1998, so I've been on this journey for a long time, and I think the company's fantastic. I think the board is incredibly dedicated, and again, to second guess things, especially in light of COVID hitting in the middle of all of this just isn't fair to those people.
Welcome back. Moving into the final part of our conversation with ProMedica CEO and President Arturo Polizzi. Bitwise was a West Coast tech startup that was supposed to invest in Toledo and its people. Problem was, ProMedica and a lot of others invested in it, and the firm ended up being a sham, and its leaders were crooks. They came into town looking to set up shop. ProMedica invested highly, probably to the tune of about $1 million we saw, not to mention the tens of millions that went into redeveloping the Jefferson Center. Is ProMedica free of that relationship?
We're free of the relationship with Bitwise, yes. They filed bankruptcy, and that process, I don't know where it is, but we're not part of it at this point. But we do.
Does ProMedica recoup any of the investment dollars that went into that organization?
No, we do not. No, we do not. We were a victim, just like all the other victims across the country, of Bitwise, which is maddening, to say the least. But what we're trying to do is turn those lemons into lemonade. We bear responsibility for the building, so we've been paying the debt on it every month, and we're the manager of the building right now. So what we're trying to do is get it filled up. So we have some tenants who are committing to the space right now, and we hope to announce something here in the next few months with respect to opening that building. It's dark right now, but we do intend to open it.
Not to get that cart ahead of the horse, but is the idea, at one time, it was this innovation hub, it was this incubator for growth and for industry and for tech. You're telling me today we want to stay in the vertical of healthcare. So is there a vision over there for something from a education standpoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's going to be a mixed use building, essentially. We do want to entertain innovators. If there are people who want to use that space and collaborate there, and there have been some who've shown some interest, we absolutely want it to continue under that original vision. However, we're also practical, and we need the tenants. So it'll be a little bit of a mix on who's in there.
So it's not going to be another site for ProMedica. It will be somebody who will pay rent.
Correct.
To ProMedica, still owning that building.
Correct.
And
that's
you're
correct.
looking to keep ownership of that building.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah, we may relocate a department or two in there who we have at other off-site facilities. But yes, essentially what you said is correct.
I wanted to go back to nursing. I said I would.
Yeah.
The safety and burnout of nursing, we get emails, I think, Arturo, every single week from organizations downstate. It's been a hot topic. What is ProMedica doing as far as bettering that situation going forward? Because we know over the course of the pandemic, leading into financial strains, we've seen drop off, right? How do you build that back up, not only personally, but also from a numbers standpoint?
Yeah, I'll start with personally. I think personally it's being visible, making sure they know we're supporting them, and really at a macro level, what we've been able to do over the past couple of years is great, because we've been able to stay competitive on wages. So we've kept up with wages in the RN space, which is really good. So comp and benefits are kind of table stakes, right? You have to have that correct. We have strong leadership in nursing, which I think is really, really important. And we've been able to reduce the number of agency staff in all of our facilities. So think about bringing a traveling nurse into an environment who may not know the people, don't know the system, don't know the culture. It doesn't do a lot for morale. So the fewer of those agency staff you have, the better off you're going to be. And we've been able to recruit much better. And now our retention is really strong. So our turnover rates are lower than our competitors. They're lower than our benchmarks. So the turnover rates look good, which to me tells me we're doing a pretty good job there.
And now that we know the Trump administration is coming into office in January, there are those who say RFK Jr. and what he wants to do as Health and Human Services Secretary is a threat to healthcare in America. He wants to target chemicals in food, target the power of pharmaceutical companies, which you brought up. He could be tasked with establishing regulations governing health, including food and drug safety, so on and so forth. So if Google is somewhat right, you didn't call it broken, you called it complex, why is it a bad thing? Why is he getting so much flack for wanting to go in and fix what is complex?
I think that's a great question. I think that there's room for improvement, and if people are working to improve it, then we ought to let them work to improve it. Now we can debate all day what the right fixes are, but we ought to have a conversation about making it simpler. So it is complex, we ought to try to make it simpler. So all those things that you ticked off that the administration wants to work on, kudos. I think we should work on them, I really do. And meaningfully work on them, not just lip service, because I think because healthcare is so complicated, I think it's easy for politicians just to give simple answers. There aren't simple answers. There are complex answers to complex situations. So if we can have a meaningful discussion around that, I think it would serve us well.
Welcome back. So that just scratches the surface. You can see the full 30-minute interview with Arturo Polizzi right now on WTOL 11+. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you with us. We'll see you next time here on Leading Edge.